we've done a survey, and as far as we know, only Don Peacock is wearing shorts. Anybody else wearing shorts? Oh, another one in shorts? Vicki, you're not in shorts.
No, I'm not.
Anyway, we're very fortunate on two situations here. First, if you were here Monday night, you know that there was no Wi-Fi in this room. And we need Wi-Fi for today. We did a little bit of pushing and shoving, and the library expedited some repair, and we do have Wi-Fi today, so please go on to Chet's small network if you want to go onto a network. The second thing is we have been trying since March to get Apple TV to work to the projector. And we bought all types of gear, all types of amplifiers to make it work, and it didn't work. Finally, we brought Dennis to Giacomo in, and he brought his Apple TV, and his worked. The answer is, the newest generation Apple TV, for some reason, doesn't talk to this projector. But the previous generation, which Dennis's, does, and therefore we can have the program today. And finally, the third thing is, we got a great guy, Jim Corsica, who's going to tell us how to use Apple TV. I've had one for about a year, and I still don't know how to do it.
Same here.
And that's a hell of a thing for me to say, but I'm willing to say it. You ready?
I am ready as I'm going to get.
Okay. Jim Corsica.
Thank you. I thought I would talk to the wall instead. In my biography, I said I'm a retired math teacher and I watch too much TV. I don't know if you can call it TV anymore. You can call it multimedia, I suppose. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about the Apple TV today. And two good things happened. We discovered that we can get some audio out of the house speakers, which we've never been able to do. Don't know why, but they did a fix-it in here this morning. And I'm able to mirror my phone through. This is an Apple TV right here. You're seeing the side of it up there, but I can't get my laptop to mirror yet because you've got to have the same Apple ID, and it seems as though Dennis Giacomo's ID is hardwired into this Apple TV. I can't get to it for some reason, but that's okay. We're going to get 90% of what I wanted to do today. Anyway, the Apple TV is a little hockey puck. That's it right there. Okay? And it has basically 5 connections. Those are the 5 connections, which is a very, very bad photograph. Hello.
I've got one that if yours is dead.
I just bought this. And it's intermittent.
It was a short warranty.
That's what happens when you get them for $7, I guess.
There's too much on the, too lifetime on the shelf.
They usually need batteries too.
Well, I have the battery.
There it is.
Thank you.
Oh.
The connection is very, very simple. That's power. That's an HDMI. This is meant to go into a widescreen TV. So I read somebody in the on the discussion group this morning said they weren't sure whether to come to this meeting because they were told an Apple TV wouldn't work with their television. That means they must have an old 4x3 TV, and that's not meant for that. It has what's called an optical audio output, which is that little thing right there. It's got a little mini USB port, which you can see right there, and then you can hardwire it into your modem right there. So the connection is very, very simple. It's basically your powered cord and your HDMI cord. And I use it in this kind of setup. Okay? You can barely see it, but there it is right there. Okay, and I have that patched into my, that's a fairly new amplifier that has about 6 HDMI connections in it. So I have attached into that, and then it goes into the big screen TV, which is up there. Okay, and I get home theater sound. I find the speakers on big screen TVs are kind of inadequate if you really want to listen to good music.
For sure.
It's not, I'm surprised that Sony, that's a Sony TV. I mean, the sound is awful if you have any sort of an ear at all. Anyway, that's the setup that you normally use of that. That's the remote that I'm going to be using on its side. And that's a close-up. I don't know how that happened. Should be able to rotate that. Oh.
Yeah, the crop.
Go to crop,
Crop.
And the crop tool, you can rotate.
and the left bottom.
There we go. Thank you, boys. Okay.
We learned that Monday night.
New knowledge, okay. So the controls on the remote, and the remote is typical Apple kind of design, rounded corners, simplified use, and a pain in the butt. Because if you have to search anything, then you have to do it a character at a time with this remote. So the best thing to do is to have the remote app on your iPhone and control the Apple TV through your iPhone. You can also get a Bluetooth keyboard, and you can pair that with an Apple TV too. Unfortunately, my Apple TV shows that this is paired with it, and I couldn't get it to operate.
How do you pair your iPhone with the Apple TV?
The when you sweep up from the bottom and you touch the AirPlay symbol, the device comes up if it sees it. So do you see the check mark by the Apple TV?
Yes.
All I had to do was touch that, and it was paired with the Apple TV.
Wow.
And if you have to provide a password or?
No, not through this one. It paired, because this is not my Apple TV, but my phone paired with it right away. So I was able to turn on mirroring. Mirroring is one of the best features of the Apple TV, and that is that anything you can get on your phone, you can throw up onto your big screen TV. So if you want to check your mail on your big screen TV, you can do that. I mean, this is kind of unimpressive because we normally see Jerry do this kind of thing, but he's using a whole different kind of technology. He's using the laptop, and sometimes he's mirroring through a piece of software, which I just learned about last week. What's it called? Reflector. Okay. So this means that anybody who has an iPhone or an iPad and an Apple TV can throw whatever they've got on their phone up onto the Apple TV.
You do
Okay.
that through iTunes?
What's that?
Do you do that through iTunes?
No.
No?
No, just whatever, it's going to take whatever you're going to see, whatever. Please, everybody close their eyes. Okay, that's my Dropbox. And okay, I just wanted to show you, this is the primary source of my knowledge of the Apple TV other than what's sort of intuitive about it. This is the book by Josh Centers, the Take Control book. And as far as I know, it's fairly up to date. There is some a rumor around about some forthcoming news about Apple TV, which I'll get into in a second.
He spoke at one of our meetings.
Yes.
In March.
Okay, George, is the video on? Is the video on?
Is he recording?
Is it recording?
Yes.
Okay, all right, because I wanted to get this address up. This week I checked Mac Rumors about the latest information about Apple TV and why you might want one, other than the fact that it's a very efficient and very good streaming device. One of the rumors around is that the Apple TV is going to be the hub for HomeKit. How many people here are familiar with HomeKit? HomeKit is apparently a forthcoming technology where you're going to be able to use your iPhone to open the garage door and turn off the bedroom light and, I don't know, flush the toilets, I suppose. But another rumor is that the technology on Apple TV is going to enable Siri support. In other words, you're going to be able to give voice commands to the Apple TV. That'll be interesting. And Apple just put in a new patent that may enable web searching through the Apple TV, which you can sort of do now. In other words, if I close this out, okay, and I open Safari and turn it sideways, okay, I was last at Amazon.com. I can go to Comcast. And, you know, I'm into web surfing now, but I'm doing it through my iPhone. The caveat there is that it's whatever format the software is on your iPhone. That's what you have to take.
Also from an iPad then?
Yes, I'm sorry. Whatever I say about the iPhone goes for the iPad as well, with maybe in some cases, minor exceptions. Okay?
And probably the iPod Touch also.
Yes. How many people here have an iPod Touch? 3, 4 people. Okay. I was personally shocked to learn, and I sent this to the discussion group too. I was personally shocked to learn about a week ago that the iPod Classic doesn't exist anymore. They aren't making any new ones because apparently Jerry says they're not being able to get parts, which means that if I want to go and get an iPod now that is, you know, something just to hold music, I have to buy a Touch, but the biggest size on a Touch is like 64 gigabytes. I like the fact that in my Classic I can hold my entire music library, which is 160 gigabytes.
Would you like to buy mine?
Maybe so. Okay. Let me turn this off. Okay. When you fire up the Apple TV, when you fire up the Apple TV, you actually do not get this screen. You get a very, very small, you get a screen with only 2 of those little menu items on it, so that you can essentially you have to go to what is essentially the settings menu, and you have to supply the usual information. You got to give them the name of your home network, so that your Apple TV and your iPhone and your laptop are all on the same network. So you have to, first of all, supply the network. If you're going to do any sort of perusing in iTunes or buy a movie or buy some music, you're going to have to supply your Apple ID and password for iTunes. But essentially, the setup is exactly what you would think it would be in terms of just getting going. Once you supply the basic information, then you get that screen, which has, now Apple TV calls them channels, okay? And if you're like me, I will be marginally interested in about half of them. I will be interested in a major way in about a quarter of them, and totally uninterested in about the remaining quarter. So, I tend to put the channels I'm most interested in toward the top of the menu. And, yes, ma'am?
How come sometimes I can get Pandora on there and sometimes I can't?
Well, I'm going to call on Bill in about 2 seconds here, and he's going to tell us about the problem. I have the answer for that. The answer is I have no idea.
Thank you. I don't feel so bad.
In fact, Bill, why don't you tell us what you told me last week about the radio?
About the radio.
Pandora.
How it seems to have a mind of its own and it goes off.
Yeah, I will tune it in and listen, and then 30 minutes I realize it's gone.
Yeah.
I can call it back up, but then 30 minutes later it's gone again.
Yeah, that's happened to me. I've taken recently to going to sleep with like new age music on, and so I'll go to the iTunes radio, which is right there. Okay? And there's hundreds and hundreds of channels on iTunes Radio. So I'll pick the New Age channel, I'll turn it on and count on falling asleep to New Age music. But all of a sudden it takes into its head to stop. And when I try to get it back, I'll get a message that says New Age is not available at this time. Try again later. Which is great at 12 o'clock at night. And so my answer is I have no idea why it stops, but when you stop and think about the number of connections that have to take place before you can hear Blaine featuring John Newman, you can see that any one of those could break and it's probably nothing to do with your phone or your iPad. It probably has to do with the network somewhere down the line.
So it's just got that all 29 choices?
No.
No. The radio is free, okay? So the iTunes radio is one of the new features of iTunes, and that's free to everybody. Every once in a while there's a commercial on it. If I don't particularly like this song, I can skip it. But iTunes keeps track of the skips, so it'll only let you skip 6 an hour. Okay? But all that is free, and if you want to add a station like that, okay, typical of the way you add things in iTunes or any place else, you hit the plus sign and look at the choices. Okay? So it's not just country, it's 5 different kinds of country. Okay? It's not just classical, it's 4 or 5 classical. If you want only opera, blah, 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 you just choose opera, and opera should be under my stations. Okay, you see there's I guess I'm supposed to get a choice to add it to my stations, and I forgot to do that. But it's that simple. If you want rock and roll, if you want, I don't know, jazz or smooth jazz, they're all in there. You know, again, there's not a musical taste that wasn't represented by that. Now,
Who had a question?
Jim?
Yes.
Just for Carl's point, the $1.29 is, if you like that song, you can buy it and add it to your iTunes library.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's why I was going back, is actually to explain it. That's just iTunes is always selling it,
Okay.
you know? And so, if you like it, then you click on it and your ID comes up and you can buy the song. Okay, and since I'm on the subject of radio, let's go down here.
Did you say you could move these channels around?
Yes. I keep distracting myself. All right, so suppose I was very interested in ABC News. all I do is hold down the select button. The select button is the little round circle, silver circle. I just hold that down, and guess what? It jiggles, just like we're used to doing. And then you can move it wherever you want to move it. And so that's how I got the ones that I'm interested in the position that they were in. Although this is Dennis's Apple TV, so I assume he has it. Although he told us he doesn't really use his Apple TV, right?
No.
Yeah, and so this is a fairly new feature, being able to move the tiles around, or the channels around.
Are they, all of these things there, or did you have to get apps to get them there?
No, they're all there.
Okay.
In other words, if you get an Apple TV now and fire it up, and assuming you don't get a message to do a software update, okay? So once your software is updated, all the channels that you see are available. Some of the more recent ones are Showtime. Showtime Anytime is a very, very, very new one.
Is there a
And-
charge for that?
I'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, Showtime Anytime is a new one, and CBS News is a new one. Okay, so let me go back to the subject of radio, so we'll get that out of the way. This was the tile or channel that was there before iTunes Radio was invented or given to us. And what happens is, it looks like a very, very similar kind of deal. So suppose I'm interested in adult contemporary, okay? That's sort of soft rock, popular. Those, I'm going to just hold down the button and scroll through the list, okay? I'm only up to the T's. But those are stations from all around the country.
All around the world.
All around the world, thank you very much. Okay, so I don't have any idea what the jack is, and I don't know where it's from. I suppose I'd have to listen to it for a while, but if by chance there is some sort of station that you are fond of listening to from, quote, back home, unquote, I'm pretty sure you can find it in that menu. Yeah. I have to tell you, the amount of free music that's available both on the web and on Apple TV, I don't know why. I mean, I buy music through iTunes every once in a while, but I don't buy much. Just listen.
Jim?
Okay, yes, I saw a question over there. Did you have a question?
Yeah, this Apple TV, this is an actual TV that you're going to purchase, or is it an
It's a
apparatus?
streaming device.
Oh, it's a streaming device?
This is the Apple TV.
You
Oh,
supply
I
the
see.
television.
Yeah, you
Oh,
have
okay.
to supply the widescreen
So
TV
it hooks into
Into, yes.
any TV?
into a widescreen, high definition
A
TV.
wide, high
Yeah.
definition
With an
screen.
HDMI.
Any make?
Thank you.
Magnified, seen it?
Any day.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
that's exactly right.
all right.
Mine's got HDMI.
HD with it, yeah.
It has
Most
to be
widescreen
HDMI.
TVs, it's almost like you don't have to
Well, the new
look
ones.
anymore. The newer
My old one,
the newer high definition televisions all have HDMI connections. It's just a question of how many. This big screen that I showed you before has 4 HDMI connections on it. But really, I only need one now, the way I've done it. Yes.
Kathy Romano.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. If you already have, say, DirecTV, and I already have HBO, Showtime, and that kind of stuff, and I certainly have on my television music that I can get to and click it, and the TV plays great music, what really am I gaining from having Apple TV? What other things can I get through it?
That's a good question. For me, one of the major gains is being able to mirror what is on my phone or my iPad through the Apple TV onto my big screen. Or my computer. That's the thing that I can't demonstrate to you today that's sort
So
of
we'd be
frustrating.
talking pictures and what other
Yes.
kinds of things?
Yes,
Or email?
watch.
But I can do that with an HDMI cable in my computer or my iPad already,
Right.
without that. Okay. Well,
Yes, do you have your computer near your TV?
I can take it in the room and plug it in, my
Okay,
laptop,
I-
and it
I don't do
mirrors.
that.
It mirrors perfectly.
My connections are all wireless.
I have one.
So if I turn on, if I turn on mirroring, and go to my, oh no, I don't want that, I want the photo app. my photo app. Okay, that's coming off of my phone on wirelessly into the Apple TV and into the big screen TV.
You don't, the point is, you don't have to bring your computer to the TV. If you're on Wi-Fi and it's on, you can get to it over Wi-Fi.
Right. And here's another thing, Kathy. Let me use Netflix as a result, as an example. The TV that I bought about, I think it's close to 4 years old now, came with a kind of a USB dongle, okay, that you plugged into the side of, into one of the USB connection. And you could stream from your modem to the TV via that little dongle, okay? The same thing is true with a smart TVs that are being sold now and smart Blu-ray players that are being sold now. By smart TV and smart Blu-ray player, I mean these are devices that have the ability to receive wireless signals built in. Okay, there's not a separate receiver. This thing had a separate receiver. I have the big one in my living room has the dongle. A little one in my bedroom has it built in, is a smart TV, and also the Blu-ray player has built in my bedroom. I don't find the signal or the speed through those devices to be anywhere near what I get through the Apple TV. So if my choice is to watch Netflix, I notice this, this may be a situation in just my home alone. I notice a significant difference in speed and, you know what buffering is? Buffering is when you get the little circle of death, my students would have called it. Okay, when you get the little circle of death and you're sitting there waiting until you get an image. I find that happens much less often with the Apple TV than with a smart TV or a smart Blu-ray player. Now that may not be your experience, but that's my experience. I also gave an Apple TV to my lady friend recently for her birthday, and she noticed a significant difference in the speed in which things are delivered via the Apple TV. Okay? Yes? Mitch.
Yeah, I use the Apple TV a lot, and one of the things that I do is I have the Amazon Prime, and so Amazon Prime you get instant video,
Yeah.
and you can mirror it.
Yes.
Now,
Can I just interrupt you for a second?
yeah,
He brings up an important point. One channel that you will never see on an Apple TV is Amazon Prime, because they're competitors. But there's a way around it, and that's what he's telling you about. Go ahead.
yeah. So you get the app on your iPhone or your iPad, and then you can select free movies or buy a series. I had no problem with this when I used it this summer. I had little problems, but just recently I started using it again, and it gets interrupted. When I'm showing a 1 hour movie, it'll get interrupted a couple different times where it just literally shuts down, and I have to start it up again. Have you experienced any of that? And I have the fastest Comcast Wi-Fi that you can get, and I've got the latest iPad and the latest router and the whole bit.
I don't watch Amazon Prime that much because I have several of the other pay channels on there. So if I'm going to watch something, I tend to watch either Netflix or HBO or Showtime. There's only so many hours in the day. You know what I mean? So I haven't used.
Well, Mitch doesn't really have anything else to do.
Oh yeah, that's right. The boy barely gets out of bed. Oh, there it is. Okay.
There are paybacks.
Yes, there are. All right, this is what he's talking about. Okay, so down in the lower left-hand corner there is Amazon Prime. And even though Amazon is not a channel on the Apple TV, you can get it to be on your big screen by routing it through the Amazon Prime remote, and you can get around that. You have to sign in and so forth. So there are workarounds.
Did you buy that app through the App Store?
Yes.
It's a free app.
It's a free app.
If you're a Prime,
If you're a Prime member,
yeah.
you get free stuff.
Most of the apps, those user kinds of apps, are free in that way. But it doesn't come without a certain amount of difficulty. Let me see if I can grab one here. This would be a typical situation, okay? So suppose I wanted to use the PBS app, all right? First of all, it's not an app. PBS channel. It's a limit. You get a limited number of choices of what you can see on it. It'd be nice to say that everything that's available on PBS is available in that channel. It's not, okay? But say I wanted to use the PBS app. That's the first screen that you get. It's a combination of the Apple TV, your wireless network, and you get some sort of an activation screen. Okay, so suppose I wanted to activate this Apple TV. Okay, I then have to go to a website that is basically a PBS website with an activate choice on it. And they always give you some sort of a code that you have to enter. And then when you go back to the channel, it's active and you can use it. Now you have to do that for almost every media broadcast kind of channel that's up there. So if I wanted to use HBO right now, okay, and I wanted to see HBO, well, guess what? It's already active, okay? I'm kind of surprised. But the thing about the HBO,
Jim?
yes.
That normally sticks, or you have to do it every time?
No, once you do it at home, I'm not sure, Bob, if when you have a power failure, but for example, I've unplugged that Apple TV from the wall several times and it never loses Dennis's identity on it. So there might be some things that are hardwired in it, yes.
I think when you do software updates, you might have to do that. Sometimes that'll cause
Oh, okay.
a problem.
You hear that back there? He said sometimes we have to do software update.
So do you have to keep that activation code, or
Yeah.
do you get a new one?
No, you get a new one each time.
Okay.
It's one of those one password kind of
Okay.
deals. Okay, so since I'm in here, that's basically all of the series that HBO has ever broadcast. So if for some reason or another you've gotten it into your head that you want to see, that was a wonderful miniseries, John Adams. It's
Yeah.
like 7 episodes or whatever. It's not been on the radar for probably 10 years. But if you want to watch John Adams, you can.
I want to watch home.
You want to watch Hung? Okay, and there you are. And in beautiful high definition.
And that's free or for charge?
Only if you've paid for HBO. If you
Okay.
are an HBO subscriber.
Okay.
Now, having said that, the game may be changing as we speak, because in the news recently is a revelation from HBO that you're going to be able to, in the next year, get HBO as a standalone service over the internet, like you get for Netflix. You're going to be able to pay a flat amount and get HBO through your wireless without having to have a package from Comcast.
Comcast, yeah.
The expectation is, I've read a couple of articles about that, the expectation is, it may be, be careful what you wish for. Because if all of these stations start doing that, you're gonna wind up paying the same amount of money for 4 or 5 that you're interested in as you get for the 500 that you get from Comcast. I mean, the jury's still out on that, but that may be something coming. It's called an a la carte system. Yes.
How's this in comparison to the DirecTV?
Well, all of
totally
these
different.
things, whether it's Comcast or DirecTV or the Apple TV, they're all supplying you high definition.
I see.
Okay. I haven't checked HBO on demand that much, but I'm not sure that the whole library of HBO is available on demand. But if it is, then this is exactly the same as that. I just find it a cleaner signal if I go through the Apple TV than I do on demand. Yes. Yeah.
On this mirroring and on the Apple TV and updates, there's several versions of Apple TV out there.
Right.
Are they all capable of mirroring?
That's a good question. This is supposedly from Dennis. He says he hasn't used it in a couple of years, so I'm assuming that this is an older generation because mine, which is the most recent generation, would not work here in this system. Although, we don't know since the Wi-Fi's been fixed whether mine would work. Anyway, mine is the most recent generation, which I believe is the 3rd generation. The one that I showed you that they've applied for a patent and so forth will be the 4th generation of Apple TV. I don't know if the 1st generation or the 2nd generation is capable of mirroring.
But you can find all that in the system with your remote.
Yeah, I mean, you just try and see if you can do it, right?
Well, is the
No,
mirroring?
it tells you whether it does it.
No,
Okay.
no, that's not the case. Is mirroring a part of the update? I mean, can you take a 1st generation and update it to?
No, it's like if you owned an Apple 4S. It will only update, if you update an Apple 4S, it will only update to, I think, iOS 6. I think that's the most that it will handle.
7.
So I think
7.
7?
Yeah.
Well, okay. But it won't take iOS 8. It's kind of like that.
Jim,
Yes.
Bob Kennedy, you might want to mention that the 1st generation is an entirely different animal.
Of Apple TV?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I ever saw one.
The first one had a memory in it and whatever. It was a bigger box.
It's
And
about the size of
Gray one,
a
it was the big 6x6
Mac Mini.
gray one.
Oh, really?
yeah,
It looks like
So-
a Mac Mini.
Yeah, right.
Is there any use for one of those?
Doorstop.
I can't think of one. I believe the older Apple TV didn't even, it's not the 1st generation. Probably the 2nd generation did not have an HDMI output. I think the 2nd generation had what's called a component output. And I think the HDMI output started with the
Jim,
3rd.
I have the
Yeah.
2nd generation.
Does that
It's
HDMI?
almost identical.
Okay.
It's almost identical to the 3rd. The differences were minimal,
Right.
but the 1st one is drastically different.
Drastically different. Okay, so I'm guessing that this is number 2. This is
That's
Dennis.
probably
number
number
2. Yeah, Vicki?
Vicki Kelber, just to go back to the question, how is that different from DirecTV? It isn't for premium channels, but there are some additional things. I don't use Apple TV, I use a Roku because at the time I was purchasing, Apple TV didn't have Vimeo, which I use a lot. I put all of my trips into a slideshow and I put it on Vimeo. But the advantage is that it has additional things like Vimeo and YouTube, Netflix, a lot of other channels.
Right. Okay.
News channel, I imagine, my Roku has news channels, I would imagine that one does too.
Yeah, it's got several. I keep pointing at the screen when I should be pointing at the device. But there's I think there's a Fox News, CBS News, NBC.
And you can go back
ABC
into
News.
some archives, I think, with those, so.
How do you know how many of these you have to pay for?
I'm pretty much sure that the premium channels are limited to like 4. It's HBO, Showtime, Stars, and Cinemax and maybe the movie.
Like CBS doesn't charge you anything.
No. Mitch?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, the problem with all those news channels is it sounded all really great, but they work like PBS. All they're doing is giving you a video or something. It's not a live feed.
No,
Oh,
no, it's, you can go back, you can go back into an archive and you
Yeah.
can see something.
oh, okay.
I mean, they make that step to a live feed, and it's time to cut the cord on that.
Yeah. Yeah, they won't do that.
Yeah.
They get some money, don't they? Yes. Jerry?
You can get around that, if you use an iPad, you can get most of the TVs in live feed, and then you can mirror them
Yep.
through the app.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
The only one I have is NBC Nightly News. And NBC Nightly News is an app that's free from the App Store, and I could mirror that and watch it on my big screen if I wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to show my slides on the TV screen. I've got them on my computer. They're not in iPhoto, they're in Lightroom. And what I would have to do is play them on my computer and then mirror the screen.
Yes.
I'm told I can't do that. I haven't been able to do it. I can mirror off my iPhone, but I can't mirror off my computer.
Let me ask you this, I'm not familiar with the software. When you play it on your computer, does the photo come up on your screen nice and
Yeah,
beautiful the way?
sure.
Well, I don't see why I shouldn't be able to mirror it.
There's the ability to mirror from a MacBook Pro, for example, came relatively recently, so
Yeah.
older ones cannot do
Ah.
that, newer ones can.
See, I can do it,
Newer ones should do it then.
I have an iPad Air from about a year and a half ago, and I can mirror anything that's on my laptop computer, I can throw up onto my,
I can off the iPad, but I can't do it off my main
yeah.
computer.
How old is your laptop?
It's not a laptop, it's a mini.
It's a Mac Mini?
Yeah. And-
Not an iPad Mini, a Mac Mini.
No, it's a Mac Mini, and it's
Okay.
not the latest one, which came out last month. It's the one before that, it's not old.
It may not have the necessary hardware in it. The Mac Mini has been pretty stagnant as far as technology for quite a while.
What operating system are you running the Mac
The
Minis?
latest,
What is it?
the latest operating.
Yo70?
Yeah,
No, it's not a software.
Not a software?
It would be physical hardware.
Okay.
They may not have the chips in there to support the local area streaming.
Yeah.
And-
All right. That's gonna be true about these devices all the time. The things are gonna fall by the wayside, the capability, yes.
Diane Bryant, when you watch NBC Nightly News, are you watching last night's news or the current news?
You don't get it live. You can get it maybe a half an hour later on the air.
Okay. Yeah, unless you
And since
subscribe.
I time shift almost everything I watch from networks.
Okay.
I very rarely, okay, let me think. The only program I will watch live is the good one. I time shift everything else. Yes.
For the gentleman with was it Mac Mini?
Yes.
He said that you can't mirror with, right? And I have an older MacBook Pro. I mean, the alternative, I guess, is take the Mini over to the TV and run a cable, which I do with my MacBook Pro. And because I can't mirror it, I have a 2008 MacBook Pro. But DVI cable to HDMI is fine.
Well, my understanding of Mini is it's basically a little cube, right? So it doesn't have the keyboard attached or anything.
Correct.
So you have to bring that with you.
You have to have that.
So it doesn't sound like it's a trivial exercise.
That's true.
Yes.
Chuck, I was playing with news services this morning. An option on Sky News was a live option. You could click on live, and I believe I got live
No kidding.
from the Sky News service.
All right. I've never heard of the Sky News Service. What is that?
It's a British one that goes through just about everything in the world.
Not enough American news for you? Any others before I continue? Okay. Check my place here. Activation code. Okay, let's take a look at some of the hard channels here. Oh, that's a screensaver. And on second thought, let me go to the one thing I want to tell you about that I can't do for some reason. Okay, to me, one of the main reasons I love the Apple TV is that it wirelessly enables me to gives me access to everything on my laptop, whether it be videos or music or whatever. And you do that through the computer channel, and you basically have to make sure, of course, that your computer and your Apple TV are on the same network, which obviously if it's at home, it's good, unless you're an unusual house, you're going to only have one network, okay? You have to turn on what's called home sharing. It's in the iTunes, file menu, okay? Now, here's the reason why I'm having, it must be me, because yours doesn't want to work. No, there it is. Okay. Here's the reason why I can't show it to you now. I hoped I could. But that Apple ID right there, digimo@mac.com, is Dennis's. It's not mine. In order for me to show you what's on my laptop, which I was going to do, I would have to be able to put my ID in, and I can't see any way of doing that unless somebody has an idea. I've looked in all of the menus of how to change the ID.
What about restrictions?
No, it's in the menu, it's under network, I believe. And hit that one, no, go down one.
No, see, I've got network. I've got the network I want.
Now, there's a place to sign on.
Yeah.
Go back one minute. About one.
See, I can't find any menu where the ID is. I tried signing into iTunes. Home sharing is on, it doesn't do me any good.
That's what I do, turn it off. If you turn it off, then it gives you the sign up for your home network.
Okay, try that idea. You get a cookie.
Very good. You gotta turn it on your computer.
It isn't.
Sleep.
No, it's on.
I get that every once in a while, I have to turn it on and off. I'm gonna try that.
Or vice versa. Is this one on the instructor network?
Yeah. Yes, it's on the instructor network. updated my iTunes this morning. I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to shut down iTunes and start it up again. And then if this doesn't work, to avoid putting everybody to sleep. Too late. Wait, how could you have said it if you were?
I talk in my sleep.
Jim,
Yes.
you don't want to take the time now, but sometimes I find I have to reboot everything.
So turn on
and
the
then-
computer.
And then it'll establish connection.
Sometimes I just unplug the Apple TV and plug it back in.
Yeah.
Get about 15 minutes.
Okay. Moving right along. At any rate, if I was able to connect through home sharing, which I can do no trouble without any trouble at home, I didn't anticipate this problem, of course. When I hit computers, up comes James Corsica's library. That's the only thing. You hit enter, and I have access to all media that's on my computer. If I have some videos that I've taken through iMovie or whatever, they're there and I can show them on the big screen. All of the photos that are on my computer I can throw up on the big screen. My entire music library I can put on the big screen. Okay? It's a great, great opportunity because as you recall, the first photo I showed you, I had the Apple TV connected to a Wi-Fi system, which means I can play that music through a nice surround Wi-Fi system. It's great. Okay? Yes?
With that screensaver, is there any way to change the pictures? They have National Geographic pictures. Could I put on my own pictures?
Yes. As a matter of fact, once you are in the photo app, no, I don't want to be in that box. Okay, let me go down to the photo. I tell you, it's nice if you don't have to use this. At this point, you know, an hour ago, I would have taken out my iPhone to use, but I can't get the app to work. Although now that I'm signed in on the computer, maybe it will.
Amazon sells a similar thing called an Amazon Fire TV or something like that. It's a similar size box and it does similar things, but the advantage of the Amazon one is you can talk to it. I don't know if you can talk and put in your passwords and stuff.
No, the only thing that's coming out is
search. For search, if you say to Amazon, you know, find movies with Jennifer Aniston, it would, you know, you don't have to type anything.
Yeah,
in.
searching is a pain.
Search for that.
The answer to your question is yes. You can when you're in the photo app. I don't have that many photos. I'm not a big photo person. Screensaver. Okay? Who asked the question?
Yeah, thank you.
There you go. So these are, I went to the Naples Gulf Coast Big Band concert on Sunday afternoon. I took a couple of photos. But you can see up at the top there, you can have, you can choose a slideshow, and you can put a music background to it if you like. So if you're having a gathering at your home and you want to have the photos playing in rotation in the background with some nice music behind it, you can do that. If I was connected through home sharing, I would have access to not only the iCloud photos, but all the photos on my computer. And you can choose a subset of those photos to be the ones that are in the slideshow. So you have that kind of control. Okay? It took a while for the photos to get there because it had to stream them all in. Oh, good handsome devil. That's my new headshot. I'm an actor.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's good.
My new garage door. Okay? I was going to show you movies and TV. Okay. So, this all comes with a price. Okay, so if you pick a movie on iTunes, this part works pretty much like if you've ever bought a movie or rented a movie from iTunes. There you can see your choices down at the bottom. Sometimes they will have embedded in these choices a trailer, so that you could watch a trailer for the movie in high definition. And these are really nice speakers.
Yeah.
Do you know what make they are, Sherry? No. But these sound really good. I mean, that's not a bad picture, and it's being projected on a wall. Okay, imagine it on a 1080p or a 4K high definition television.
Star Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
So, and there's a channel that is nothing but movie trailers, and you can go about looking that way. And here, the only option seems to be to buy this. I don't know why the option is.
We'll go over to more, you might get one to rent it.
It's too new to rent.
Yeah, maybe it is. But this is Rotten Tomatoes. It's critical response to the film, which you can see was a pretty good movie. But that's pretty much the story on all of those channels at the top. TV shows are the same way, but they all have a price tag. Typically, a half an hour show is $2. So if you've watched The Good Wife, but you missed that one episode that everybody talks about, and you really have to see it, you're willing to pay $2 to watch it, or $3, depending on the length of the program. So,
Jim,
yes,
when,
go ahead. Yes.
oh, when you rent them, do they have commercials in it? Like say you
No.
rent to The Good Wife?
No, that's the advantage to renting them, is that they're, a 1 hour program plays in about 42 minutes. Vicki?
Is there an Xfinity channel?
Xfinity, okay, no, I know what you're talking about. You
Because
can buy,
otherwise, then you can
mirror it from
you
your
can
computer.
just mirror from your iPad.
that's exactly
Well,
right.
actually, you can just go to Xfinity on demand, but if, for example, we only have one TV that we have a DVR on. So if I want to go into Xfinity on demand, I mirror, on another TV, I go into, I mirror from my iPad. But I wondered if you could do that from Apple TV.
Here's what she's talking about. That's not it. That's it, okay? So, in the middle there, in the second row, you see the Xfinity app. Because of mirroring now, I could go into the Xfinity app and say I wanted to play an episode that was on Fox television within the past 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, in other words, it's like an on-demand situation. You could mirror it through your iPhone into the Apple TV and watch it on your big screen.
Another, I got the latest modem. I had a guy out to my house a few months ago, and I got the latest modem that they have, because he said the one they just gave me in the store wasn't the latest. They gave me he said,
This is Comcast?
yeah, and he said 3 or 4 months from now, this was probably 3 months ago, we're expecting to come out with being able to go wireless to your TV with using that modem.
No kidding.
So I think what they'll have is a box similar to probably,
Yeah,
but you won't have to have, physical cables.
right.
So maybe it will work, I don't know.
That technology is available almost throughout the United States with Xfinity, except here. They have it out in Salt Lake. You know, it's the same deal. You see Prism advertise how you can watch it anywhere, and they have it everywhere except here. Because I called on and I went all through, they set up an appointment and everything, and they said, oh, wait a minute, it's not available in your area. So hopefully it will come because
Yeah, well, the guy said
everyone
it's
else has it.
coming.
The closest I have to that is I have the X1 platform at home, and anything I record on my DVR in my living room, I can watch if I have a high definition box in my bedroom. I can watch it in my
Right.
bedroom.
Yeah.
That's the closest I can come. It seems to me that Comcast in Naples is slow on that, and it's slow on the hotspots. Is that true? Do you know about the Comcast hotspots?
No.
They're not real, they just started rolling out the hotspot modems.
Okay. I mean, you're going to be able to drive down the street and pull out your phone and come up with a Wi-Fi clear channel and go ahead and use it like you would your Wi-Fi at home. Because every modem is going to have two sections to it. One that is secure just for you and one that's open for anybody else who wants to use it.
My new modem had the hotspot, and I turned it off. If you get a new modem from Comcast and you install it, you'll find their modem, but you are also now a hotspot.
How do you turn it off?
The separate channel, I don't think you can.
Read my article on Mac 411.
Okay.
Unplug it?
No, you can't.
Anyway, just let me make this one point. If say you wanted to, I don't know, watch an episode of White Collar, then it comes up, and as you can see, you can buy the whole season, or you can buy an episode. So if I selected that episode, I got to pay $3 for it. It's a 1-hour episode, and you get it in high definition and so forth. But obviously, this is something you don't want to do all the time, only in the case of if you're following a series that you missed an episode that is no longer available on demand, you can always get it on iTunes.
Right.
Yes.
So you were talking about The Good Wife. You can go back about 4 weeks. You can't watch the current show, but you can go back about 4 weeks.
Right.
And see it for free.
And that's it. Yeah,
Right.
but that's it.
CBS.
But if
Yes.
you're like my Chicago daughter, who I've been preaching about The Good Wife for years to, she just started getting involved with The Good Wife.
Oh.
And apparently Netflix is carrying the first couple of seasons. But that's my default, is I go to Netflix and see if I can get it on Netflix. You can't always, because Netflix doesn't carry all kinds of television. That's what Hulu Plus does too. Hulu Plus is another subscription. It's another subscription service like Netflix, but its primary emphasis is TV shows. So if you decide you've heard a lot about, say, Breaking Bad is a bad example, because I think Netflix has all of those. But if there's a series that Netflix does not carry, Hulu Plus would probably carry. But you got to pay for it. It's like $8 a month. Yes.
Can 2 iPhones operate one Apple TV, 2 different iPhones? Do you have 2 in the family, or do you have to reserve it to one of them?
2 iPhones operate one Apple TV. Any iDevice can operate an Apple TV, but not at the same time.
Okay.
You wouldn't know what signal.
Right.
Although I have never tried it, but who knows? Maybe the Apple TV presents you with a screen that says, "Hey, I can't do them both at once. Pick one." You know, I'm guessing that's what
Oh,
happens.
so then I'd have to customize with them?
No. So are you saying, like, you want to play one program and whoever your significant other wants to play another one, and you want to play them both at the same time on your TV?
No, I'm just being silly.
Okay.
Julie?
Yes. Question? Yes.
May I just throw a marketing plug in? Because Apple iTunes, my production company, I have a song on there, a theme song for 99 cents. Cheaper than $1.29. And if you're interested, you can go on iTunes, because my production company, Nancy Lee Kelly Productions, is doing a musical play, and this is the theme song to it. And so therefore, the funding would be most appreciative if it would get around. So iTunes, when that song got on iTunes, I was the most happiest person in the world because it's not easy to thread yourself into that process.
Okay.
So it's called
99
Mother's
cents.
Babies.
There are basically three prices on iTunes. I think you know that. 99 cents. Most of the recent stuff is about
Independent
29, and
artists.
sometimes you get an older one for 69 cents. But Amazon.com every week will have an offering of 69-cent songs. Any other questions before we wrap up? Thank you so much. I wish I could have gotten the whole